Hello, my loves. We're trying a new angle here today. Like so much of the energy right now, it's awkward because we've got so much energy that is dense. It's way down heavy in the details. It's like the way that our neurological pathways are completely programmed, and we are in the territory of lifting that train up off the tracks and weaving new pathways. So this is your July soul message. I didn't even know I was going to say any of that, but that is exactly where we are. Way down in the details, in kind of the muck, I want to say, of the chrysalis. And there's deep, deep, deep reprogramming happening, and there's deep, deep, deep alchemy happening. So the title of this one is Controlled Freedom. And I'm going to do my best to explain this, but this is like, it's not even just the energies of the time right now. It feels like this is a deep, deep teaching that's coming through. So let me first, where do I even want to start? I'm going to talk about the mother wound first, because that is really, really up right now. So when I say the mother wound, I'm not talking, I mean, it can be about your physical earthly mother, but I'm not really even talking about that. The mother wound is about the feeling of not belonging, the sense of a broken container that is not and has not been fully supporting you and your earthly journey. It's the feeling, I feel like empaths, sensitives will resonate with this message more, but which is probably the most people that follow me anyway. But I think on some level, everyone could resonate with the idea of coming here, coming to Earth, having this earthly experience, and feeling the sense that, I mean, it's all energetic and psychic, but it's like, I thought that it was going to be easier than it is. I don't feel fully supported by this place. And a lot of that is because the programming that exists here is not in right relationship with the earth. It is not in right relationship with our spirituality, with our humanity. And so there's a feeling of having been left, or having been abandoned, or having been malnourished or mistreated, or whatever your earthly experience is. That's not like your physical people in your life and your family and stuff. That doesn't even, it can be a part of it, but I'm talking about an energetic, psychic experience of being here and feeling alone, feeling like, you know, you really didn't get at your core what you needed. And there's this, the beautiful part of what's coming through right now is as we're reprogramming, it's almost like it's an opportunity to remineralize the soil that exists in your energetic, your emotional, your psychic space, and maybe your physical as well. You know, health issues, like learning how you need to nourish yourself better or differently. With food, with diet, with exercise, with being out more in nature. But I feel like on some level, especially if you align with like the humanitarian archetype, someone who's an intuitive, sensitive, that longs, a healer, someone whose desire is to do good in the world, which I feel like is most of us, but some will be more sensitive and aware of this kind of abandonment feeling, is like, wow, this really didn't turn out or work out like I thought that it would. And I was talking to a friend this morning who was saying that as children, you know, we had we had more like of an embodiment of our spirit. So we weren't as focused on that. But as we get older, it's almost like the disappointment seeps in, and it's like, oh yeah, that doesn't feel quite right. And so then it can create this kind of hypervigilance to like figure out what's wrong. What have I done wrong to make my situation the way that it is? How can I fix this? Instead of letting go of control, leaning back into the mother, the primordial mother, the mother archetype, the divine Mother Earth, the spiritual mother, the cosmic mother that holds all of us, and repatterning ourselves to be in sync with that mother, with that relationship. And some intuitive guidance that I got for myself in this experience is to allow yourself to sit in that feeling of, disappointment and not being held in all the ways that you didn't feel like you quite got nourished. And in sitting in that, the alchemy lives. It's like it starts to repattern, and you start to see that the nourishing that you needed actually lives beneath that, in and from the cosmic mother and the mother within. And so part of this controlled freedom, there's so much to talk about here. It's hard to like even bring it all down. There's in the repatterning. So if you think of the patriarchy, like a lot of us, especially women, think like, oh, this is a male dominated system, and therefore it's oppressing women. But you have to think about it in terms of masculine and feminine energy, and that we all have masculine and feminine energy within us. So it's truer that I think, in my intuitive sense of things, that the patriarchy isn't working for the men either. It's completely suppressing all of their feminine urges and everything about their feminine expression as well. It's giving them a sense of, the domination is not the right word, but like a sense of privilege and a sense of like, I can do whatever I want without worrying about the consequences. But that actually isn't true for them either. And so even if there's like and anyone who has like an arrogant sense about it wouldn't even resonate with what I'm saying, because they wouldn't even see themselves in that. And this message isn't for them. So the idea is, it's not working for anyone. It is repressive and oppressive for all of us. And so what's sitting right next to that mother wound is the way that we have, that our feminine, the feminine in all of us, has not been mothered, has not been nourished, has not been allowed to come up and blossom, has been asked and required to go offline. The idea, even with the Roe v. Wade thing, the idea that we are not, that kind of gets into a little bit of a different teaching, but the idea that we are not allowed to be in control of our own bodies, and that anyone outside of us would dictate what we're allowed to do with our physical bodies. And so that's part of like the train coming off the tracks right now, because when you start seeing, and that's where this idea of the controlled freedom, the name of that, comes together, because it's like we have innate, organic, fluid, divine freedom, and yet that freedom is being held and controlled by these external sources, by these external authorities that we have given authority to. And so there's a little bit of an eating crow, an about face, coming to Jesus here moment, where we have to realize that we have participated in the subjugation of our own freedom. And we have to start taking it back and saying, no, this isn't right, this isn't enough. And also the controlled freedom is kind of a metaphor for the breaking down of the control kind of matrix that's been kind of in charge, so to speak, and then it points us to the freedom that organically lives there. But the rub here is that we have to claim the freedom. If you don't claim the freedom, then you're just going to continue to be controlled. But there's also the way that this has been so internalized that we control our own freedom. So we don't even allow ourselves. So it's like, it's a loop. It's like there's external control, and then we internalize it, and then we bring it in, and then we think we have to control ourselves in order to what? Fit in, to be enough, to be worthy, whatever it is. And then we're afraid to kind of get out of the keeping up with the Joneses, like getting out of the rote routine of, well, this is how it is, this is just the way it is, and acquiescing to that in so many ways. So there's a message here about yoking your humanity, the humanness, the denseness of being here on earth with the wisdom of your higher self and the wisdom of spirit. And I've seen this over and over, but I just got this message for myself. Again, it's like this figure 8. We have to go down into the earth, into our humanity. We have to claim the territory of that, honor all parts of that, and then bring it back up, yoke it with our higher self. And in that way, we are not doing anything, we're not creating anything that doesn't come from first the wisdom and the connection, the yoking together, which is the definition of yoga. Union, it means to yoke the lower and higher self, the earth and the heavens. And it's like we need to, it's like that is off balance right now, and it needs to come into alignment. It's like one side, and that's interesting that I did it like that, because the left side is the feminine. It's like the left side has been nourishing the whole goddamn thing, and the masculine has been allowed to like lean back and kick up their heels. And there's a way that we, the feminine has to start like saying, no, enough is enough, and pushing it more, in a vertical plane. I didn't even know I was going to say any of that. But the yoking together of the humaning and the higher self and all of that. And the other piece that I was thinking too, so there's this figure 8 here, but then there's also the way of, it's like the forward path is the middle way. That isn't all feminine or all masculine. That is war energy. That's domination, one over the other. And I think that's what's so challenging about being here, is that we think it has to be one or the other. So it's not about women being over men either. It's about how can we come into balance, and how can we honor both sides and include both sides. And in that way, it's like we come together and we walk the middle path, and we yoke it together in, figure 8, weaving back and forth, back and forth. And really, it's almost like the way to do that, we have to be more humble in order to do that. We have to give ourselves permission to forgive ourselves for being on the extremes, because it's like where it's harder actually to live at those extremes, because the further out you go away, the further extreme you go to is like a further experience of war. It's like if it goes this far over, then it has to go this far over too in order to balance. And so it's like the task is to come closer and closer and closer to the middle of yourself, to the middle of all things, to diversity and inclusion, and letting go of those deep extremes. So the other thing I wanted to talk about, which kind of goes in along with this, is the tension of opposites. And so I've been seeing in individual sessions a lot this visualization of the square and the circle. And there's kind of like a fighting with that energy. Is it the square? Is it the circle? That's a little bit like the masculine, feminine fighting for war, like which one is right. And so I'm sure that you all have experienced the feeling of trying to put a square peg into a round hole, and how it does not work. And it's like I keep seeing that this almost like a holograph of the two sitting side by side, and it's like which one is going to win out. And the truth is that neither are supposed to win out. They both have their place. They both have their position when they're in right relationship with themselves, when they're in right relationship with their own energy. And it's when it's like when we say one or the other that we get into trouble. It's like, can the square exist here and be truly and authentically itself? Can the circle can be squarely here? And when I say circle square, you can exchange that for masculine, feminine energy. And instead of this whole right, wrong, good, bad, it's like, well, can they both be valuable? Can they both be valuable? You know, the square, the structure of a home is typically square, although it can be circle. And yet, you know, a bowl, a circle, to hold something is typically in a circle. And they're both valuable. Like, you have to have a wheel, you have to have a circle in order for the car to go forward. It has to be circular. And then cars are typically more, you know, rectangular and angular. And this may all sound like nonsense, but what I'm trying to get to is that both are necessary. Can we get to some place finally where we recognize that masculine and feminine are both necessary? And we have to honor them both in order to be in balance, in order to be in right relationship with the earth, in order to be in harmony, in community, in tandem. I don't know how else to say it. So I'm feeling a lot of cocooning energy. It's up big for me. It's almost like we have to pull away from the rote routine of how we've been doing everything, especially for entrepreneurs, like the way that you've been doing your business. I'm just feeling like, woo, I got to pull it all the way in, but also the way you've been doing your life and relationships and dating and all of it. How you're relating to yourself and others, and like, where are the boundaries? Where do you begin and someone else ends? And it's almost like we have to pull ourselves into cocoon to even recognize what our automatic behavior would have been. It's like, if you're always in relationship, if you're always exchanging energy, if you're always out in the world doing that, then you may not even notice what your automations are, what your programming is. And so to get quiet and to cocoon back in to self, you can start listening to truly, like, what do I long for? What do I desire? Not what does the world desire of me, because that just keeps you on the hamster wheel. And so I'm seeing this need for cocooning and kind of disconnecting from the automatic ways that we do things. A big need to be in and around water. I talked about this in the new moon ceremony, which, by the way, those are all pre-recorded now and available in my shop. Usually I'm trying to do it like a couple days before the new or full moon. And I just added a subscription for that too. So if you want to get them automatically in your email, you can do that. You can sign up for that on my website. And then another thing that I'm feeling the call for is release. There's this way, and that will kind of organically happen when you're pulling the tentacles back. You're sitting with the discomfort, which I have been in big time, and resisting that change, like resisting that, almost like a baby in the birth canal, resisting the process of birth. And so I just got the message this morning, thank God, with the help of a friend, like this leaning into surrender and just allowing yourself to be received, allow yourself to be held, because the transformation is happening for you, not to you, always. But it's our internal resisting to the change that we're being called to that causes the most strife, rather than just like, okay, I'm taking my hands off the wheel, like, take me where I need to be. And you will always end up where you need to be. And then really kind of the goal, if there's a goal of all of this, is coming into your own internal rhythm. Like, and I know for a lot of people, if you have a 9-to-5 job, this is really hard to do. But one message that's been coming for me is really to try to get into an authentic, organic sleep pattern with yourself. Like waking up naturally when you wake up, going to bed when you naturally feel like you're tired, which for me, I've been noticing is a lot earlier than I normally would go to bed. And I think a lot of us, I know I do this where I'm like, oh, it's only 9 o'clock. I'm not going to go to bed now. And I look at the clock to dictate like, oh, well, I shouldn't go to bed now. It's too early. And we do that sometimes with the morning too. Like, oh, it's 8 o'clock. It's 9 o'clock. I should be getting up. Well, maybe you're tired, you know, and this is part of like honoring that organic nature and that mother. So I think I said, did I talk about being in and around water? Oh, that's what I was saying about the new moon ceremony. That came up big time because the new moon was in Cancer, a water sign anyway. But, and water is the element of emotions. There's a lot of emotions coming up, a lot of grief. So just be careful and gentle with yourself. But I'm really feeling called to get in and around water, being near a water source, listening to the sounds of water, you know, taking a bath, like all of those things. So anyway, I've been shuffling the cards. Let's see what we got. The gem. So there we are. Look at that. The gem that's in the center of all of us. This is the cocooning, like finding the gem. What is your unique energetic signature, and not hanging out here in the debris of, you know, I almost see like the debris, like the darkness of doing it like everybody else, but also that when I look at this card, I see like the scraps on the table of creation when you're doing a project, and all the scraps that go, all the things that don't get created but are part of the creation that does end up coming forward. That's what I see when I look at this card. So let's take a peek at the definition, and this is in the Tools, Kim Cran's archetype deck. Her alchemy deck is coming out here pretty soon, so I'll probably use that for the next one. We'll see in August. All right, so the gem, the diamond, the gold, the inner treasure. Of course, this is exactly what I've been talking about. There are infinite names for the gem. It is also known as the jewel, the star, the talent, the gift, the gold. One thing for certain is that it is found deep within a substance that is very unlike it. For example, a diamond in the rough. And so that's amazing, because this is the teaching right here. We have to go so deep within ourselves that we see the jewel that we are, that we see the gem, that we see the uniqueness. I keep talking about this, but it's like, you know, the uniqueness, that thing that's fringy, weird, different, that also comes to you so organically and so naturally that you don't even think is a gift, is the thing that you're here to do. And that's what we have to keep going deeper and deeper into, and unveiling in ourselves. And it really means not doing it like everybody else, as challenging and uncomfortable as that is. Okay, the gem always stands in contrast to its surroundings. You can't find it when you're among comforts and pleasantries, okay? I've been deep, deep, deep in that. Like this, the goo of the chrysalis, the yuck of dissolving. And I've been through it already. Like we have been through it already so many times this year that there's this feeling of like, you gotta be kidding me that we're going through this again. But I think it's just like layers on an onion. You know, we just keep pulling the layers back and back and back. All the things that are not us. It's like that quote about Michelangelo carving the angels. And he said, I didn't create, I wasn't, what is it? I wasn't, he carved away at what wasn't the angel to allow the angel to be there. So that's what we're doing, is chiseling one by one the pieces away that are not uniquely us, so that we can come further and further into our unique expression. Okay, you can't find it when you are among comforts and pleasantries. That's why I like Dark Night of the Soul, going away from, you know, all the comforts. Even recording this horizontally right here, I can't even tell you, like getting the camera set up and everything was like so ridiculous. And I'm like, oh, this is uncomfortable, because it isn't part of that rote routine. Okay, I'm just gonna, you know, turn the camera on and go. Precious stones develop slowly deep in the earth amid pressure and darkness. Okay, are you picking that up? Pressure and darkness. Not knowing where you're going. That's the owl medicine that has been present with me all year. Discovering the gem requires a descent beneath the surface where there is no definite map. So that's, again, that surrendering into the unknown and just leaning into the primordial mother, knowing that you will be held. Yet the longing to touch the true gem within us is so strong that we cannot help but seek out its radiance. Because I think on a deep level, we all desire to find what is that unique thing that is us, that we are here to do. We all have it, and a lot of us don't know what it is, and we're sitting right on top of it. That's the hilarity of the whole thing, is that we're all sitting right on top of our gifts and then thinking, oh, I don't know what it is. And it's like, because it's so organic, it's so automatic, you don't even know what it is. So yet the longing to touch the true gem within us is so strong that we cannot help but seek out its radiance. Your gem, like your destiny, is unlike any other in the entire world. Keep digging. And I say this over and over and over again, but it's like, your uniqueness is what is so desperately needed right now. Like, you're doing it like everybody else is not helping you or anyone. You have to do it your unique way. And that's why the need for cocooning, the need for going in, because you have to disconnect from all of the ways that we are pulled off of our center and said, hey, someone else is doing it like this, so that means I have to do it like that, or I won't fit in, or I won't belong. And it's like, all of that is nonsense. It's actually the opposite way that is the way for you. When light, unique, shining, generative, irreplaceable. When dark, envy, greed, grasping. That's that, like, envy, I want to be like other people. It's the greed, I want to have what other people have. It's the grasping for the old way, for the easy, for the way that we can just like tune out and, do it without thinking, like just be on autopilot. To go deeper, legend of the crystal skulls and Leonard Cohen's Diamond in the Mine. The moments of your life that glimmer are clues to where the gem resides. Don't covet the sparkling diamond of another. The gem is like a fingerprint, never to be repeated again. Find yours. I heard this ages ago, and I can't even remember where, but this idea that if you look around at your friends and the people that are in your life, and if they're all writers, if they're all musicians, if they're all artists, if they're all developers or content creators or whatever it is, chances are you are also that thing, because you're drawn together because there's something that you resonate with in them. And watch where your envy and jealousy lives, because jealousy is an incredibly beautiful tool. If you don't hang in the self-flagellation for having jealousy. But notice where you're jealous. If you're like, ooh, I love what this other person is doing, it's an indication that you desire to do something similar, or that you desire to express yourself in the unique way that they are also doing. So pay attention to that, because it's kind of, like a breadcrumb along your path that's showing you where you desire to go. In mythology, the diamond is often linked to the daemon, or the inner light that leads us toward our true self, our purpose, our destiny. It reminds me of that show, what is it called? His Dark Materials, where they all have daemons. They all have, an animal that they receive as children. And it fluctuates in and out between what kind of an animal it is. And then I forget, I think it's around the age 16 or 13 or something like that. It starts to form into one animal, and it stops shape-shifting, and it becomes that one animal. And it's like, that's, our guide, but also an expression of our inner self, what we desire to express. So I forgot to bring the oil down. I nearly forgot about what the oil of the month is. So again, much like, I didn't even realize this until right now, but much like, the feminine and everything that I've been talking about, the uniqueness that we have in the expression that is often overlooked, but is vitally important. The oil of the month is Copaiba. And I think this one is wildly underplayed. Even as much as I use oils as plant medicine and, teaching and healing, as much as I use that, I often forget Copaiba. Like, I'll remember it because it's great for skin, it's great for under eye, dark circles, and all of that. But the essence of Copaiba is the energy of unveiling. So there's a little bit of that, like, in the controlled freedom, like we're starting to see through the veil of where control lives, and that's a way for us to almost, like, it's like there's a crack in the fence and we can get out, or we can see our path to freedom. So I feel like it's wildly underplayed, but it is a really valuable and important oil. And it's not one of the, like, tree oils or the flower oils or the citrus oils that smell so beautiful that you're like, oh yeah, it's kind of nicer in combination with another oil if you're going to diffuse it or wear it, because it's really earthy. It smells almost like soil. But it's another great one for the nervous system. You can place a drop under your tongue or put a drop on your thumb and push it to the roof of your mouth when you're freaking out. Frankincense is also great for that. But it's in, I can't think of which rollerballs it is right now, but it's in at least one, if not a couple, of my chakra roller blends that are in my shop. And I'm just about to launch the astrology series. There is one for all of the planets and Chiron. So those are about to launch here in a couple days, and so you can look for those. And Copaiba is in one of those too. I can't remember which one now. But so that's the oil for the month. Really helpful to just, like, anchor you in and draw you back into self. I would also guide you towards bergamot for that as well. Bergamot is the energy of calling all the scattered parts back home, but that isn't necessarily the energy that we're in right here. We're more in that sense of unveiling and seeing what's true. Clary sage is another good one for that as well. And lemon for focus, but I don't want to get off on that. That's more just focus on Copaiba. That's the one. And if you want to know, like, what to blend it with, or, if you have questions about which one of my rollers it's in and you want to grab that, that would be great. I talked about this a little bit in the new moon ceremony as well, but there's a lot of digestive tummy stuff coming up because there's this dance between the old and the new world that has kind of landed, I'm feeling, in our body. And we're doing this dance between the solar plexus and the sacral chakra, which is like, the solar plexus is masculine. It's yang, it's the sun that's in our body. It's more about definition, will, boundaries, but also can be used as like a place that we hold and control. And then the sacral chakra is below the belly button, and that's the feminine, the womb, the passion, the creativity, the desire. And it's almost like those two energies are fighting and warring with each other. But the path over this month is, and of course it's going to take longer than this month, but this is like we're being pointed towards, like, hey guys, this is where the work is, to come into balance. And like, how can we use that energy in tandem to work together instead of in opposition? So anyway, I think that's long enough. I did want to announce that I did finally announce and reveal on my newsletter, although I haven't on social platforms yet, the Wild Sisterhood program, which is going to be a 9-month program. It's the replacement of my mentorship last year. It's going to go from September to May. And I believe that we're going to be meeting twice a month for like an hour and a half to 2 hours. And it's really more focused on community and connection and sisterhood. But what I'm also starting to hear is that it's really for people who know that they're here to anchor heaven on earth, know that they're here for pulling their spirit all the way down into unique expression and, lighting the grid on earth with their unique expression. So I'm starting to get more and more information about it. And even just recently this week, feel like the format of the whole thing might entirely change. But I still encourage you, if you're interested, to go and apply on my website, because then at least I'll know that you're interested. And if the form changes, then I can let you know that, and I can update you, and of course get on my newsletter for all of the announcements, because the change that we're all going through, that I'm going through as well, is so rapid that it's like all year I'll think I'm doing one thing and then it turns and it becomes something else. And that's something I'm deeply, deeply feeling called into, is like really being in union with spirit and doing what I feel called to do instead of any way that I feel obligation or a commitment to have to do something, and to give myself full permission to change it at any time. So I highly encourage you to do the same thing. All right, blessings, namaste. Have a wonderful July. Reach out for any questions, individual sessions, readings. I'm going to be working on some more group things and some more classes as well. So I'll reveal those as they become available, as I even am aware of them. And blessings and namaste, and have a wonderful July. And take care of yourselves. It's a jungle out there, and we need each other, even when we're in the cocoon, to pop out and just check in with our people and take care of ourselves. All right, blessings.